Hello, my name is Mary Albert, and I'm an implementation specialist with Brown & Brown. Brown & Brown is the broker on behalf of your group. So what that means is that you do have a team put in place to support you, not only during this enrollment window, but throughout your upcoming coverage period as well. Now, once your plan goes into effect, you can see that your coverage will run through the end of January 2026. It's going to be very important to be mindful of the date that was provided to you by your HR leader as to when you need to have your benefits submitted by. Because once that date does roll around, you will be sealed or locked in with the benefits that you've elected for the remaining of the coverage period. How do you enroll or decline in those benefits? I will be going over that with you today. Now, I mentioned that date, that it's very important to have everything submitted prior to that date. Once that date rolls around, you can't change your benefits that you've elected, adding or dropping. However, if you do experience a qualifying life event, now we have listed some examples of what those might be here. Or if one of your dependents loses their benefit status or something changes, please reach out to your HR leader within 30 days of the event to see if coverage can be changed. My goal today is to provide more than one way as to how to keep those out-of-pocket expenses at a minimum. The first two plans that are being offered to you are through Aetna. Aetna is the carrier. However, it's very important to be mindful of the name of the network. And up here, as you can see, the network is the same on both of these plans. The reason that is important is because you do have in-network and out-of-network coverage. However, I'd like to talk about how that works. When you stay in network, you are going to be offered on this plan a reduced and negotiated rate for any service that has the words deductible plus coinsurance beside it, because those providers and facilities do have a contract with Aetna. And over here, when staying in network, you're responsible for a flat copay that's due at the time of service. The money here that you're paying, that reduced and negotiated rate, tracks first towards your deductible, which is up here. The first number reflects employee only, whereas the second number reflects adding dependents. So if you were to hit that mark, that meet your deductible, and a lot of people don't meet it. However, it's good to know that if you do meet that amount, reflective up here beside the word deductible, then you would go on to the next phase, which is coinsurance. Coinsurance is reducing those costs because now you're sharing the cost with Aetna. You would be responsible for 20% of those reduced rates, whereas Aetna is responsible for 80%. The third phase leads to your out-of-pocket maximum. And as you can see, the numbers are slightly different on both of these plans. Over here, when staying in network, when you make a copayment, it does not track toward your deductible. However, it does drop into the bucket I say that ultimately matters, which is your out-of-pocket maximum amount. Do be mindful that these run in a calendar year. So let's talk about how it's different when you go out of network. When you step out of network, you are not offered those reduced and negotiated rates because those providers and facilities don't have a contract with Aetna. Additionally, you won't have those co-payments available to you. Also, the deductible amount that I mentioned on both plans and the out-of-pocket maximum bucket, they're much larger, so they can hold more of your money. And those amounts do not combine. If you're seeking out care in network and then you step out of network, that bucket starts over at 0. It is good to know, though, on both plans, if you have a medical need or reason to step out of that network to seek care, you will have that coverage on both plans. However, when you can, staying in network is the best way to lower those out-of-pocket expenses. You do have prescription drug coverage on both plans. The first dollars out of your pocket when paying for a prescription does track towards this deductible up here. So you might pay a little bit higher for that medication. However, again, if you hit your deductible, up here you go into current coinsurance, both plans actually, when you hit your deductible, same deductible, you would then go into a co-payment phase when it comes to your prescription. Talk to your doctor. If generic is in your best interest, as you can see, oftentimes that does lower your out-of-pocket expenses, as well as getting something written in a 90-day supply. I highly recommend creating a member portal with Aetna. By creating a member portal, all your information is housed there. Additionally, you can get a replacement ID card, search for those in-network providers and facilities. Aetna does provide great resources for their members. They have an app. If you have a smartphone, I would encourage downloading that app, as well as other types of services that can help support you in case you were to need it. Minute Clinic is an alternative to emergency care or higher cost urgent care centers. So those are available for you as well. Where to seek the ones that are closest to you, that information can be found in your member portal. And Aetna does put licensed health professionals in place to be able to support you on a variety of different topics. This is the other plan being offered to you. And as you can see, if you are currently on this plan, you can see that the carrier is changing. The way this plan works, it's the same thing. You want to stay in network. And on all three of these plans, I do want to mention that when you go in for your annual physical, that does include your annual blood work, any preventative screening that's appropriate for your age and gender on any of these three plans when staying in network is covered at 100%. I often advise folks to use that terminology when they make that appointment so that it is coded correctly. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of just straightforward co-payments on this particular plan. Great to know that urgent care virtually is at a $0 copay. Something to note, to be mindful of when you look down here, there are some limitations as to the benefits and how many times you can use it. So this might be something to consider when electing your medical plan. Just like Aetna, this SBMA also has a wonderful member portal that I highly encourage you creating. All the directions are here. You can pause this recording so that you can further understand how your plan works. Now, I did mention on the plans, you do have prescription drug coverage. Specifically, those first two plans, I mentioned you wouldn't be responsible for a copayment unless you hit your deductible. So if you get a prescription, sometimes it might be a little bit more than you're expecting. GoodRx and Single Care are free websites that you can log on and type in the name of the prescription. Not only will it show you the different pharmacies this medication is available at, it'll also have the cost associated when picking up that prescription. So it's very good to know that you have that as an option. Do be mindful that when you take advantage of GoodRx or Single Care, you cannot use your insurance as well. So it doesn't track towards your out-of-pocket maximum nor your deductible. There are different pharmacies that have just different flat rates and discounts on certain medication. This is your skin in the game. And what I mean is if you get a prescription, where you have it filled is an opportunity to save money. Of course, if you use your medical insurance, make sure you're filling that prescription at an in-network pharmacy or seek out one of these options as well. Down here, I often tell folks just to create a roadmap. Where are you going to go when you get sick? If you get sick, that might not be the best time to figure out where to seek care. So have an idea. Of course, staying in network and seeking out care from your primary care physician is going to be one of the options that are at lower rates. Virtual care, sometimes you know your body best when that can be applicable to you. If you go to an urgent care, minimally, make sure you're staying in network. So have a general idea of where those local in-network urgent cares are. And it's also advisable to have an idea of where your in-network hospitals are locally. Of course, seeking out urgent care or emergency room situations are going to be at a higher cost. Now, that very first plan that I pointed out by Aetna, that I mentioned a lot of things track towards your deductible plus coinsurance. If you sign up for that plan, you are eligible to open up a health savings account. A health savings account has a lot of great benefits to it. One of the benefits is it can lower your taxable income. For example, if you earn $40,000 a year, let's say over the course of the year, you want money taken out of your paycheck, and over the course of the year, you've contributed $1,000 to your health savings account. You just lowered your taxable income to $39,000. So that's the first big savings. Secondly, if that $1,000, for example, went home in your paycheck, it would get taxed. If you contribute it into your health savings account, it does not get taxed. So there's a huge savings there as well. And you might be thinking you want to use that money. Of course, you can use that money, and I'm going to point it right here, for any eligible medical, dental, vision expense. You can use it on yourself or your spouse or dependents, even if they're enrolled under another medical plan. If you want the full comprehensive list as to what is considered to be an eligible expense, you can type in this IRS publication 502 to find all the things that you can use that money for. The great thing about a health savings account is that if you don't use the money by the end of the year, it rolls over. So it's not a use it or lose it account. Additionally, if you retire or leave your employer, this money does go with you. So lots of great benefits, again, if you sign up for that very first plan through Aetna. You are offered dental coverage. The carrier's principal. If you want to find an in-network dentist, we've provided a website for you right there. I'm going to hop over to the out-of-network and mention it runs very similarly to medical in the sense that you would probably pay more for those services. These percentages that the plan covers you at the in-network rates. So if the out-of-network dentist charge more, you are responsible for that. In-network, the dentist have to offer you that reduced rate. So if you seek preventative procedures, we've listed some examples of those here, the plan pays at 100%. If you need basic or major procedures, you pay a one-time calendar year dental deductible of $50, and then the plan pays 80% of those allowable charges. You pay 20%. Of course, for major, you can see the percentage is different. What the plan pays comes out of a amount of money. It's right here. It's $1,000. So that is the maximum that they will pay throughout the year for dental allowable charges. The plan does offer you orthodontic procedures for children up to the age of 19. Do know that this $1,000 is separate and is a one-time lifetime maximum. This amount up here I want to mention is for each member on the plan. So each person has that amount of money set aside, which does replenish every January 1st. You are often offered vision coverage as well. The carrier is principal and the network is right there, VSP. VSP is a very large network, so I'm going to really encourage you to stay in network. Why? Because everything is either a flat copay or they give you money to shop. If you're at a facility and they're giving you all these discounts and coupons, it sounds great. Chances are you're out of network, and it's safe to say that you most likely will pay more for your materials and or services. The eye exam is eligible every 12 months. The benefit starts when you use the benefit. And the great thing about an eye exam is they're not just examining for your eyesight. They can see if you have heart disease, autoimmune disorders, pre-diabetic, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. I just think there's a tremendous benefit in having your eyes examined. Now, if you do wear contacts and eyeglasses, both, you cannot use both of those benefits in the same year. You would have to alternate them. You are being offered basic life coverage, And this is also through Principal. It's going to be very important through enrollment and anytime during the year that you have your beneficiary information up to date. You can elect one person as your beneficiary. That would be the person that would receive this amount if something were to happen to you. Or you can have two people or more, as long as the totals of their um, allowance would be calculated to equal 100%. This is free. Your employer is covering this for you. If you want to purchase extra life insurance, you certainly can do so in increments of $10,000. On the next page, I will go over with you that you might be asked, along electing your amounts, to complete an evidence of insurability. That is just a medical questionnaire or a statement of health. As you can see, as the employee, you can elect in increments of $10,000. If you elect it on yourself, you can elect it on your spouse. They can't have more coverage than you. And there is a limit as to what you are allowed to elect. And you can also cover your children. Now, this is some math here for you to do to calculate what that benefit would cost you. Down here is where I was mentioning, I would pause this recording so you can take a good look at if, when electing that coverage, if you'd be prompted to completing that. We call them EOI. If you're listening to this as a new hire, great thing, right out of the gates. You can go all the way up to that guaranteed issue, which you go back on the recording, you can see what that is, or look in your benefit guide. You are being offered short-term disability. This is paycheck protection. Always important to know who the coverage is through. One thing to note that is if you've declined this in the past, you can sign up for it, but you would be required to complete an evidence of insurability. And that, like I mentioned earlier, is a statement of health. Now, if something happens, you're ill or become, and it happened to be in an accident and you file a claim through Principal, if it's an eligible claim, they would start paying you 14 days after that event, 60% of your weekly salary. Now, you can be on short-term disability for up to 24 weeks. And there is a pre-existing in the first 12 months. That means if you do file a claim, the underwriters do go back 3 months prior to see if it's something you've been treated for or seen by a doctor. Down here, it helps calculate the coverage. However, do know that when you go to enroll, you'll have some math there to that's going to be put in place into your enrollment platform. Long-term disability works similar to short-term. However, it's if you're out of work for 180 days or more, and it pays you 60% of your monthly salary. And you can be on long-term disability for up to 2 years if you're disabled in your own job, or up until Social Security age if you're fully disabled and unable to work. Now, the next few lines of coverage are lines of coverage that would pay you if you were to need the benefit. Through Principal, you are being offered accident coverage, and you can pause this recording to take a closer look as to some of the examples of the amount that would be paid to you if you were to experience something like this through an accident. You can elect a certain amount. Here, if you are covering yourself, you can see it's different pay scales. If something were to happen to you, there's also a wellness benefit, meaning that if you don't even have an accident, but you go in for that free annual physical I mentioned earlier, they would just send you $50. And then this is where you can elect who you want that coverage for. Critical illness is a different line of coverage also offered through Principal. You can see there's many different examples of what they deem as a critical illness. And if something were to happen, it would pay you a percentage of that. Now, the next few pages, I'm just going to sort of talk through, you can pause this if you need to, are the directions as to how to sign up on Employee Navigator. You're going to want to register your account. This is the platform that you will enroll and elect or decline the benefits that are being offered to you. These are your key players in addition to your team at Brown& and Brown that's put in place to support you. I'd just like to remind you that ask your HR leader, when is that enrollment cutoff window date? Because that's the date that you have to be extremely mindful of to make sure everything's submitted prior to that. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.